Calling North Pole, calling Santa, calling North Pole, calling Santa. Come in, Santa, over. Oh, boy. Wow. Let me look at the snow globe. It's Jake. Wow, Jake, can you hear Santa?
Yes, I can hear Santa.
Wow, what a great radio voice you have. Wow. What would you like for Christmas?
Some tea, a football, and an Apple Watch.
Okay, I wrote all that down. That's some terrific presents. Wow. Are you going to leave me out some cookies and milk or coffee and a carrot for the reindeer on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, I can't wait for Christmas Eve.
All right, you were listening to CQ Santa on the radio, calling in all the way from the North Pole to talk to kids all across America. And I just think that is the sweetest thing and the coolest thing. So I will include a link in the description if you're interested in the details about how you and your family can participate next Christmas. Welcome back to the show. This is episode 6 of Creative Mode, which means we are officially halfway through the very first season. Thank you so much for being here and for listening. It means the world to me. I'm so excited. I feel like every episode becomes more and more rewarding for me, and hopefully the quality is improving for you as well. But I'm excited to see where the rest of the season goes, and then who knows what comes next. And since it is Christmas Eve on the day that this episode will drop, I want to talk about Christmas and childhood wonder. For the intro there, I played CQ Santa on the radio, and it reminded me of when I was a kid. My mom used to let me call into the local radio stations and request songs, and then I could hear myself back on the radio, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. And so later, when I was a little bit older, I don't know, like 7, 8, 9 years old, I had this cassette player, and we would get these blank cassette tapes from the dollar store. And my cassette player had a recording feature. So I would record my own radio shows. So I would do like a broadcast, I would do little audio stories, and I would even mix in some music. I cannot remember how I did that, but I would create like this whole cassette tape that was just me and my little radio station, my little radio show that I put together. And I thought that was so much fun. And now I'm kind of doing the same thing. I'm sitting in my room recording, but I get to share it with you because podcasting is a thing. So that's just one of those things I think from childhood that finds us again later in life. And it's really special. So today I kind of want to talk about what that can look like, the way that things can show up that maybe we forgot about from our earliest days. And when we rediscover them later, when we're older, we have kind of a brand new perspective, a fresh pair of eyes, and we're able to really use that, I think, to explore our creative side and go further into our own character development, if you will. This really goes back to a couple months ago. I was feeling kind of sad and I was in a very nostalgic mood. So I got down a box of photos from when I was a kid and started going through those. I'm talking like 20 to 25-year-old photos that were taken on disposable cameras. So these are actual physical photographs. And I found one that was a picture of my childhood bedroom. And in the very back, there was a plastic Fisher-Price art desk. And maybe you can picture what this looks like in your head. It was like the really thick plastic. I think it was green and gray. And the surface of the desk was actually like a marker board. And then it had cup holders for like your paintbrushes and your pens and all those things. And I forgot about that desk until I saw that photo. And then it was like a flood of memories came back. Yeah, I loved that desk. It was a mess. It was an absolute mess because I always had such a good time just like creating and drawing and painting and having fun. And I think maybe that was the origin of my creative spark. I remember mixing paints to create potions and just all kinds of stuff. And so those like early childhood days, when I think back on those days, I can remember like how pure things were and just how much simpler life was. And creativity just came so easy and so naturally. And then as I got older, at some point, I just kind of gave up, which is really sad to say. But I think I got older and I realized that there were other kids at school that were better at drawing or painting or just had more talent or maybe they weren't necessarily better, but they weren't afraid to show their work and what they could do and share it with other people. And I just got this idea in my head that, well, if I can't be as good as them, then I might as well not do it at all. At some point, yeah, I just kind of gave up, and then school got more serious, and for a while, creativity and art just became things that I just did on occasion, and it was no longer a daily part of my life. And it reminds me of a quote that I once read that said, "Can you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be?" And I bring that up because I think if you can go back in your mind to when you were a kid and think about the activities that you enjoyed and how you would spend your time when you didn't have to worry about how much time you were spending, what did you do? What sparked joy in you? What lit up your creativity? What gave you that sense of childhood wonder? What did you want to share with other people? Maybe it was taking things apart and rebuilding them. Maybe it was painting. Maybe it was books. Who knows? It could have been anything, computers, anything that sparked that sense of wonder in you. I think if you take some time to revisit that, you might rediscover something that unlocks a new chapter for you now. So that's what happened for me. When I found that picture, I kind of remembered, oh yeah, that's the thing that made life worth living. I need to get back into doing something creative on a regular basis. And then I got the idea for the podcast, and here we are. And then, of course, there was like my little radio shows. So everything just kind of echoes back now. And yeah, I just think that's really cool. So sometimes there are things that meet us later in life that maybe we've forgotten about, but they revisit us and we get to look at them with new eyes and new perspectives and new wisdom. There's a reflection piece for you. Another thing from childhood that recently resurfaced for me was the Hey Arnold Christmas episode. Hey Arnold was a cartoon on Nickelodeon in the 1990s and early 2000s, and it had this almost ethereal vibe to it. It was a comfort watch, and I used to watch it with my dad. He really liked the character Oscar. He thought he was funny. So I can kind of remember like watching this show with my dad. But what I didn't realize at the time when I was a young kid is that this show actually had some pretty deep themes. It was a different note than, say, SpongeBob, where it was just like silly, funny. Hey Arnold, like it had comedy, of course, it was a kid's show, but there were some deeper themes there that I didn't pick up on when I was a kid. And so I saw, I think on Instagram, a post about the Hey Arnold Christmas episode and how it was one of the most heartwarming, best Christmas TV specials ever. And so I looked up a recap video to kind of refresh my memory because I didn't remember the details at all. And it's this really beautiful story of Arnold's neighbor, Mr. Nguyen, who is from Vietnam. It's heavily implied that he's from Vietnam, but the country is never actually named because of some kind of network politics situation at Nickelodeon. I don't know. But anyway, Mr. Nguyen tells Arnold that his one Christmas wish is to find his daughter, who he had to give up for adoption while his country was war-torn. And so the story of this episode is Arnold goes on this quest to find Mr. Nguyen's daughter, Mai. And so it talks about war, it talks about separation, immigration, reuniting with someone that you thought was lost to time. It is just absolutely beautiful. I'll link the recap video that I found so you can get a little bit more details. But I'm so glad that I came across that because I think this might be one of those series that's worth a rewatch in adulthood, similar to Avatar: The Last Airbender. That was another really good one, which was also a Nickelodeon program. So maybe I'll find whatever streaming network it's on and give it a rewatch now. And then finally, some pop culture for you. Do you remember the Justin Bieber Christmas album that came out in 2011? It was so good. The lead single was Mistletoe, and it was a bop, okay? This whole album was actually really good. He had a duet with Mariah Carey. He had a song with Busta Rhymes. Usher had a feature on there. This album actually went really hard, and it definitely went platinum in my mom's car when I was a teenager. But it's worth a listen. In fact, I might like stream it later because it's been a long time since I've listened to the whole album. I still hear Mistletoe on the radio sometimes, but there were some really, really good. The band Perry was on there. Oh my gosh, it's all coming back to me now. So yeah, Justin Bieber Christmas album. I promise you, it's actually really good. And then another kind of throwback, Taylor Momsen, who you may know from Gossip Girl or as Cindy Lou Who in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. She's also the lead singer of The Pretty Reckless, which is a rock band. She released a rendition of Where Are You Christmas. It is such a throwback, and I'll be honest, like the intro to the song kind of made me tear up a little bit because it was so nostalgic, but then it goes into like a rock version of the song. So fun. Give that one a listen to. Find me on Instagram and let me know what some of your favorite Christmas specials are, whether it's songs or TV episodes or movies. I want to know. And also, reflect on what sparked your childhood wonder and whimsy when you were a kid, and what are some ways that maybe you can revisit that now? What might that look like in 2025 or 2026? That's definitely worth taking some time to reflect on, especially before the new year. Maybe that'll inform your New Year's resolution. Who knows? I think you can unlock a new chapter. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas, the merriest Christmas you've ever had. Text this episode to someone who could use a little Christmas cheer. Thanks so much for listening. I'll catch you again next week.
I'll tell you what, on the count of three, give me a big ho, 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 Merry Christmas. You ready? 1, 2, 3.
Ho, 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 Merry Christmas.
Whoa, whoa, Nellie. Oh, you knocked all the snow off the shack up here at the North Pole. Terrific. All right, Jake. Merry Christmas.